So I'm David Gunn. I'm the Business Support Programme Manager at Zero Waste Scotland. I'm responsible for our Circular Economy Business Service, as well as the Energy Efficiency Business Support Programme that we run in Scotland to support SMEs. Zero Waste Scotland is an independent company. We view ourselves as circular economy experts, and we provide support to local authorities around resource management and SMEs and businesses on circular economy issues and resource efficiency, trying to help them become more efficient in their operations and reduce their carbon footprint. The Circular Economy Business Service is primarily aimed to support SMEs to understand what circular economy means, what the opportunities are for their business, and then help them to design a circular economy approach and adopt that business model. There's a team of 3 of us working on that just now, and I'll talk about this later on, we work with contractors to provide specialist support. Circular Economy Business Service is free to all SMEs who are eligible to access the support. Zero Waste Scotland operates the service with a mix of European Regional Development Funds and Scottish Government funding. The overall scale of the programme is approaching £2 million over the last 2 and a bit years, so almost 3 years worth of support. And during that time, we have worked with 200 SMEs in Scotland. Circular Economy Business Support Programme is aligned to the Scottish Government's own circular economy ambitions. They've published a strategy document called Making Things Last, a circular economy strategy for Scotland, which outlines Scotland's priorities for moving towards a more circular economy, where products and materials are kept in as high a value position as possible, and for as long as possible. And so the Circular Economy Business Service was created to help contribute to achieving that vision. Circular Economy Business Service is delivered via a number of contractors who we appoint to a framework, which gives us a nice wide range of specialisms that we can draw upon to meet the business need. This framework allows us to design one-to-one specific support, which is free of charge to SMEs, although they do have to work with the consultant. So while there's not a requirement for a set number of days in-kind support, they are involved and engaged in the project throughout as well. So it's not just a sit and receive kind of approach. They are involved in developing the solution. Initially, the businesses were provided with up to 30 days worth of support, which worked pretty well. We have refined that though. In the current year, we've offered shorter, more tailored support. So it doesn't have to be it's not a block of 30 days. It can be as small or as large as it needs to be to provide the best type of support. In terms of engaging with stakeholders to encourage SMEs to come forward for support, we work with Chambers of Commerce across Scotland. There's, I think, 8 of them that we work with to try and use them to encourage SMEs to consider a circular economy approach. And we also have a number of sector-specific sector managers in the organisation. So Zero Waste Scotland has a sector manager for oil and gas, for manufacturing, for bioeconomy. And what that does is obviously it creates one-to-one relationships where we can refer them into our own service. And so that's probably been the most common type of referral, and has been through building that relationship with our own sector managers. I believe that there's probably 2 factors that have made the programme as successful as it has been. Firstly is the amount of work that we do with the SME before they enter the support. And that allows us to really understand the needs and some of the initial opportunities there might be, so that we can then design the service to be as bespoke as possible. It's not an off-the-shelf package that every business gets the same type of support. There may be similarities, but the element of tailoring and taking the time to understand their needs is key, and it's definitely a point of differentiation. The second thing is that the breadth of skills and specialisms that the framework approach allows us to tap into. We have 8 contractors, and they each have a broad range of skills. Some overlap, but they also each have their own niches that they're able to offer real specific expertise and experience in, which I know the businesses that have been supported have found that particularly useful. The fact that the support's free to businesses is crucial. There's no upfront cost for them apart from their time to support the project. That has made it attractive to startups and micro small businesses, which otherwise we would have turned off if they had to pay for something like this. So I suppose they're the factors I see have made it a success. And I think as we continue the program into the future, they will remain core to whatever it is we offer, even as we evolve and continue to learn. So I think the real learning that we've learned at Zero Waste Scotland from the period we've ran the service is to make sure that you have the time built into the service development to understand the needs so that you can offer as specific and tailored an approach as possible. And then the other part of that is you have to make sure that your framework is broad enough and flexible enough that you can then provide that support. If you have too fixed a framework, you're not going to be able to support every eventuality of the type of support required. And if you don't put the time initially, you could end up providing a sort of very light touch support that doesn't really provide the maximum benefit to the SME. One of the challenges we had initially with the Circular Economy Business Service was that we were limited to working with SMEs due to the involvement of the European Regional Development Funds, one of their criteria. We thought this might be a bit of a barrier for us, but we were wrong. Demand was really strong in that sector, and actually the larger companies are pursuing circular opportunities under their own steam in any case. So for us, it was a real rich vein of businesses coming forward for the service. That then led into another initial, what we thought was a bit of a challenge, was that actually people and businesses the understanding of what circular economy meant was less or lower than we thought it was going to be. They would confuse it with terms recycling, energy efficiency, sustainability, and that meant that we would then develop some resources and workshops to help provide that introduction. So we actually then turned that around. So from being a challenge initially, it became a real opportunity to say, okay, there's a need here for us to provide that base level, sort of almost a module on what circular economy means as they're going through and as we're designing that that support mechanism. Yeah, and then I suppose for businesses themselves, their challenge is what to do with the support once they've received it from us. So our support would typically leave them with a report that sort of says, here are your opportunities. If you already have a circular economy opportunity, here is some of the financial implications, business models that you would take to go take this project forward. And they then had to try and figure out how to take that forward themselves and use that information. And we do evaluate the scheme, and we can still see that there's probably about 1/3 who actually acted on it and have gone on to create a circular economy business model, another third that are actively thinking about it, and then the final third who have gone, we're not quite ready for this just yet, and have just continued with what they were doing beforehand. And it's just interesting having been able to evaluate them on that sort of longitudinal basis, so we can see how they've progressed over time. To quantifying the benefits of the support that we're providing to the SMEs, we found it very difficult to provide a quantifiable figure for both social, economic and environmental benefits, mainly because it's an early stage support mechanism. So what we were doing with the business was allowing them to increase their understanding of circular economy, figure out how that relates to their business, and then give them some insight into how they could action that and turn it into reality. So as a result, it's often that the business is taking time after us before they actually implement it with a new circular set product or a new service. Zero Waste Scotland also has a circular economy investment fund, which provides financial support to businesses to implement measures, and a number of our businesses did go forward into that grant fund, and I think a small number have received funding from that as well, so that they have progressed. What we do is we have an annual evaluation which is a survey of all support recipients each year, and it looks at what they felt the benefits of support were. It sort of asks them to discuss what their next steps will be and what challenges exist for them in terms of going forward, and that really provides a narrative of what the benefits are for them, and allows us to provide a descriptive sort of report into the achievements of the service. And it's why we are confident that this is an important step on an SME's journey to becoming more circular, is the support of this type, which sort of does an incremental, fills that gap between being interested in circular economy business models and actually being able to implement them. It's not a simple one-step process. Our circular economy business service is ongoing, and we're continuing to support businesses this year. We're currently finalising our plans for Zero Waste Scotland's plans for next year and priorities. We are intending to continue the service. The framework we have is in place has a contract in place for 2 more years. We are discussing with the Scottish Government around what their needs are, what their priorities are, and of course, I can't go an interview without mentioning COVID and the impact that has had on the service. We've been very pleased that the actual demand for our support hasn't diminished through the last 12 months. And with the hope that we are seeing now, the reduction in lockdown restrictions and the improving position of the pandemic, that the green recovery really can get underway at pace, and the circular economy will be a part of that. And by extension of that, the circular economy business service will be able to provide businesses with support to prepare them to implement opportunities, circular opportunities, and access funding that's hopefully going to be appearing.